Due to an unexpected incident, the elite con crew got caught by the police, but instead of pressing charges, the cops made them an offer. They were to rob a local bank holding £400 million. The deal: they could take whatever they wanted as long as they retrieved one specific item from the vault and handed it over. In return, all of their past crimes would be erased. Naturally, Mickey jumped at the opportunity. So how did this crew pull off a heist on one of the most secure banks in the city? Their investigation revealed that the bank had both laser alarm systems and pressure sensors. If any intruder was detected, armed guards would respond immediately. After a power outage, they'd have only 7 minutes to get in and out any longer, and a 3-inch thick steel door would lock them in for good. But the harder the challenge, the more excited they got. Morgan built a powerful electromagnetic device. The next day, Danny smuggled the device into the bank by hiding it in a vault close to the target. He left it there, making it seem like the vault was unusually heavy with cash. Soon after, Inspector Jenny called Mickey to a hotel for a private meeting. Mickey saw this as a chance and brought flowers. He casually told her the crew would be making their move tonight, but Jenny wasn't interested in that. She simply said, "After tonight, we'll never see each other again. Let's enjoy the moment." Persuaded by her charm, Mickey stayed until the evening, barely making it back in time. Everything was ready. The heist began. The crew slipped through the parking garage to the bank's back entrance and used advanced tools to crack the lock. At one corner, they took a photo of the security camera, which caused the surveillance screen to flash white. They moved deeper into the bank without triggering any alarms. At the vault, Stacy took another photo from the camera angle and flashed it again to blind the surveillance. She then uploaded the image to the security feed to fool the monitoring team. Morgan cracked the vault code, the final obstacle. Outside, Albert cut the power, deactivating the laser alarms, but pressure sensors on the floor remained active. Now it was the electromagnetic device's turn. Morgan flipped the switch. It launched a magnetic wire to the vault. Stacy slid down the wire, unlocked the vault with a key, and emptied everything inside. Back at the van, the crew discovered that the police's secret target was diamonds. Jenny clearly wasn't as righteous as she appeared. Mickey and Morgan confronted her and handed over the diamonds, only for her to double-cross them and attempt to arrest them for robbing the bank. But just then, Jenny received a call. The person on the line confirmed that apart from the diamonds, the rest of the bank's vault was untouched. So technically, no bank robbery had occurred. Mickey asked, "So we're done here, right?" Jenny smirked. "Not quite. I haven't cleared your records yet." Forgot what prison felt like, but Mickey had anticipated her betrayal. Morgan handed her a CD. It contained footage of Mickey and Jenny's earlier conversation. Turns out the flower bouquet Mickey gave Jenny had a hidden camera inside, recording everything. Jenny was furious. Mickey picked up the bag of diamonds and said, "Think of this as our fee. And as for the charges, I'm sure you'll drop them." That video has been copied many times. With that, the crew walked away calmly, leaving Jenny stewing in regret. With the diamonds in hand, they were set for a comfortable life, at least for a while. Later, the crew set their sights on Linda, a food blogger who blackmailed hotels with 1-star reviews. She used her online influence to make money, rallying her followers to boycott any restaurant that crossed her. Several businesses had been shut down because of her. Mickey's crew decided it was time to teach Linda a lesson she'd never forget. Through their investigation, they learned that Linda's ancestors were once royalty, but her grandmother had cut ties with the noble family. The only clue to her lineage was a bracelet she always wore. Mickey began crafting the perfect con just for her. The next day, Stacy disguised herself as a representative from an estate company and visited Linda. She told her that a long-lost aunt had passed away, leaving no will or descendants, making Linda the sole heir. Linda scoffed at first, saying, "What could an old woman possibly have?" Stacy calmly replied, "Not much, just some jewelry and a countryside estate. Oh, and a bracelet identical to the one you're wearing." Suddenly interested, Linda changed her tone. "I feel really sorry for my aunt," she said. Stacy knew the bait had been taken and casually snapped a photo of the bracelet, unaware that the police were watching her every move. Just a day earlier, a man named Eddie had met with Inspector Sid and bribed him with a thick wad of cash to take down Mickey's crew. Sid didn't hesitate. Back at the station, he launched a full investigation and decided to exploit Danny and Stacy's vulnerabilities. He found Emma, an old friend of Danny's, and planted drugs on her. "Help me bring Mickey down," Sid threatened, "or I'll make sure you rot in jail." Faced with a crooked cop, Emma had no choice but to comply. Meanwhile, Danny brought a picture of Linda's bracelet to a master forger, who said, "I can make an exact replica. Nobody will notice unless they inspect the gems closely." At the same time, Emma approached Danny, pretending to accidentally bump into someone. The person began yelling at her. Danny jumped in, flashing a fake badge, and pretended to defuse the situation. He secretly planted Emma's wallet into the man's pocket, then asked him to check if anything was missing. Confused, the man found the wallet untouched. With that clever move, Danny rescued Emma and brought her into the crew. Since Emma had helped him before, he vouched for her. Mickey was hesitant until he heard Emma's nickname, the Phantom Thief. He immediately accepted her and gave her a role in the plan. The next day, Stacy was to deliver the fake bracelet to Linda, but since the replica wouldn't pass any real inspection, Emma was tasked with swapping the real and fake bracelets. That way, even if Linda got it checked, it would still pass. Everything was going smoothly until Emma betrayed the plan and told Sid. He handed her a pouch of drugs and instructed her to plant it in Stacy's bag, promising that they'd be even after that. The following day, Stacy and Emma brought documents to Linda. Stacy explained that she could inherit the estate right away, but the aunt had left behind a £200,000 renovation debt that must be paid first. Linda hesitated. "Are you sure she was my aunt?" Stacy confidently replied, "You both have the exact same bracelet." Emma then accidentally bumped into Linda and made the swap. She slipped the real bracelet into a box and handed it to Linda. Still cautious, Linda said, "I'll get it appraised. If it's legit, I'll pay the renovation debt." Just when the two were about to leave, Sid showed up with officers and arrested Stacy. As expected, they found the drugs in her bag and took her in. Mickey couldn't sit still after Stacy was arrested. Disguised as a lawyer, he visited her and learned the full story. Realizing Sid was targeting him, Mickey decided it was time to strike back. He confronted Sid and said, "You know, I have great respect for the police. If they caught me fair and square, I wouldn't complain. But when someone abuses their badge to twist the truth, that's the lowest kind of game." Sid brushed off the warning, "Pay me 200 grand or Stacy rots in jail." Mickey didn't back down. "If you threaten me, I'll take you down with me." And with that, he walked out. Back at HQ, Mickey told the team the plan would go on. "We're getting that £200,000 from Linda, then we deal with Sid." Sid, fuming, decided to sabotage Mickey once and for all. He went to Linda and revealed the whole scam. Furious, Linda admitted she was planning to transfer the money that very day. Seeing an opportunity, Sid suggested they turn the tables, but Linda was hesitant. What if she handed over the money and still got conned? When she refused, Sid grew desperate. He scraped together every penny he had, including dirty money and life savings, to make up the full £200,000 as bait, not knowing he had just walked right into Mickey's trap. Not long after, Mickey personally came to collect the £200,000, but he barely had the money in hand before police surrounded him. Sid had finally caught him red-handed. Back at the station, Sid offered Mickey two options: either cough up $400,000 to free both him and Stacy, or face a new charge, trafficking 10 kilos of meth, and rot in prison. Mickey smirked and asked, "Wow, prices went up that fast?" Sid didn't even bother to hide it. "Someone paid me to take you down. Give me the money, and we're square." Right then, the interrogation room door opened. In walked Sid's superior, Kat. She turned to Mickey. "How are you feeling?" Mickey replied calmly, "Pretty good." Sid, clearly confused, asked, "What's going on?" Kat revealed, "Before you tried to frame Mickey, I already made a deal with him." Turns out Kat had approached Mickey earlier, asking him to help expose Sid, a corrupt cop with multiple complaints against him for skimming money and abusing power. "What do you want me to do?" "Do what you do best." So Mickey set the trap. Eddie, the man who bribed Sid, was one of Mickey's own people, and Linda, the supposed victim, was part of their crew too. Everything had been staged to lure Sid into revealing his true nature. Linda's role was simple: get Sid to hand over £200,000, money that had already been swapped before the deal even happened. Sid tore open the envelope and found that only the top bill was real, the rest were blank sheets. Along with it was a USB drive containing a full recording of his confession. He had no way out. Kat arrested him for embezzlement. Mickey, in turn, walked away with £200,000 as payment for helping the police catch a crooked cop. That should keep the crew comfortable for a while. Next up, the crew targeted a man named Victor. They tracked him to room 632 of a hotel. Mickey booked room 532, just one floor below. During a meeting with Victor, Mickey swapped room keycards. Later, as Victor returned to the hotel, Danny quietly disabled the elevator camera and accessed the elevator system. When Victor pressed 6, Danny reprogrammed it to stop at 5. Victor stepped out, completely unaware he was on the wrong floor, and entered the room, thinking it was his. He deposited a large sum of money into the room's safe. Then, the phone rang. Stacy, pretending to be a receptionist named Sarah, told him police officers were looking for him. Spooked, Victor's assistant reset the safe's code, and they both rushed down to the lobby. But there were no cops. When he asked the real receptionist, they said no one named Sarah worked there. Victor panicked and rushed back to room 632. The safe was open, the cash was gone. Furious, he demanded an explanation from hotel management. But surveillance footage only showed him and his assistant entering the room once. No one else had entered or left. Was the hotel haunted? Not quite. The money was still in room 532. After Victor left the lobby, Danny swapped the keycards again. The crew had returned the cards to their original spots, causing massive confusion. The assistant had set an easy passcode, and Danny had watched it all through a hidden camera. He opened the safe with ease. Simple trick, big reward. Tired of small-time jobs, the crew set their sights on something bigger, a diamond necklace worth millions. Using their expert skills, they broke into a high-security vault and stole it. But they didn't realize they just crossed a very powerful billionaire. Tony, the necklace's owner, offered a massive reward to anyone who could locate the stolen item. Soon, a ruthless hitman found the crew's trail. He warned Mickey, "Hand over the necklace. If I have to get involved, none of you will survive." Mickey, always quick on his feet, immediately devised a counter plan. He instructed Morgan to book 5 first-class tickets to Monaco for that night, while Danny was tasked with securing hotel accommodations. The next day, the crew staged a scene where their hideout was completely trashed. Stacy pretended to walk out of a hotel right on cue. The hitman grabbed her and took her to Tony. "Where's my necklace?" "It's not with us." Following Mickey's plan, Stacy delivered the full story. Yes, they did have the necklace until this morning, when they returned to find their place completely destroyed. They then moved to a hotel near the airport. As soon as they entered, they noticed someone tailing them, so they escaped out the back, thinking they were safe in a taxi. The driver suddenly pulled a gun and robbed them of the necklace. When they went back to retrieve their luggage, they were captured. A hitman stepped in to confirm, "She's telling the truth, I checked." Mickey's plan was airtight, even Tony couldn't find a flaw. Based on what Stacy said, the thief might have been working for Hauptmann, a man obsessed with the diamond necklace. Tony then showed Stacy his private collection. Upon seeing the fake necklace, Stacy gasped, "Maybe the real one's already in Calgary." Tony's expression changed. "How do you know Hauptmann is in Calgary?" "What? I never mentioned where he was." Tony thought he'd caught Stacy slipping up, but that too was part of the plan. Stacy had purposely leaked information to mislead him into thinking Hauptmann had the real necklace. Right then, Mickey arrived, pretending to surrender. He handed over the necklace and said, "You got me. You were right, I was going to sell it to Hauptmann. The deal goes down in 30 minutes. If you let me borrow the fake necklace, I can trick him and take his money." Since Tony and Hauptmann were longtime enemies, Tony was more than happy to oblige. Not long after, Mickey met Hauptmann at the drop site. An appraiser scanned the necklace. It was authentic. What happened? It turned out Stacy had already swapped the fake with the real one when she handed it to Tony. Later, Mickey retrieved the real necklace from her under the pretense of saving her, and just like that, Tony unknowingly handed the real necklace right back to Mickey. Genius. The fake necklace would remain in a secret vault. The real one, sold to Hauptmann for £1 million. Another big win for the crew, enough to live comfortably for a while. This is, without a doubt, one of the best British con series out there. The crew's next target, a shady banker named Tamir, who ran an underground banking operation. Because of him, countless employees had lost their jobs. These people are pathetic. They act like the world owes them something. Through investigation, they discovered Tamir planned to move his assets overseas. Mickey got to work. First, Albert approached Tamir and quickly gained his trust. He told him, "I've got a friend who's a top-tier financial consultant. He could make this transfer effortless." Tamir was intrigued and asked to be introduced. Next, they needed a legit-looking office. Morgan tracked a real financial advisor named Harold. They learned Harold always went to a nearby diner at 10 a.m. Mickey and Stacy split up. Mickey went to the office and said, "I'm here to see Mr. Harold. He's out for lunch." "I know, he told me to wait in his office." "All right, please come this way." No questions asked, the receptionist led Mickey straight into Harold's office and casually mentioned, "A few colleagues will join you shortly." Soon, Albert arrived with Tamir. Mickey, posing as the financial expert, explained how he could move Tamir's money offshore. "You give me the funds, and I'll handle the rest." Meanwhile, Stacy approached Harold at the diner and tried to stall him. But Harold wasn't easily fooled. As soon as his break ended, he stood up and returned to the office. If Harold walked in now, the whole con would fall apart. While Mickey and Tamir were deep in conversation, they suddenly noticed Harold had returned to the office. Thinking fast, Mickey told Tamir, "Give me a moment, I've got something urgent to handle." He walked out and confronted Harold. "What were you doing at that diner? Did you talk to my girlfriend?" Harold tried to explain, but Mickey exploded, "Give me your wife's number, I'll let her know what kind of man you really are." Harold stumbled through his defense. Mickey then calmed down, threw an arm around him, and led him to the stairs. "Look, I'll give you a chance. Sit here and think carefully about what you said to her. When you're ready, we'll talk again." Classic stall tactic. Meanwhile, Mickey rushed back to finish the deal with Tamir. Impressed by how professional he was, Tamir handed over full control of his fortune. Later, Mickey sat beside Harold and sighed, "I've been thinking, I don't deserve her, please, take care of her for me." Harold was completely dumbfounded. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, until that night, Mickey got a surprise meeting request from his ex-wife, Lucy. On the surface, it was cordial, but in truth, the love was long gone. Lucy, now chief inspector, had one thing to say, "I'm going to put your whole crew behind bars." Mickey responded sincerely, "Everyone we target deserves it." "Still illegal. That's your law, not mine." Regardless, Lucy was not to be taken lightly. With a 95% conviction rate and the other 5% mysteriously dying, she was a criminal's worst nightmare. Mickey remained calm. "Let's finish this job first, we'll deal with her later." The next day, Lucy discovered that Mickey's crew was targeting Tamir. She confronted Mickey at a bar, "I know who your next mark is," then walked away. Everyone was on edge, but Mickey refused to back down. The following day, Mickey arrived at the hotel on time. Tamir brought all his assets. Then, a phone call. "This is Chief Inspector Lucy, you're being conned." She had a bug planted on Tamir and the hotel surrounded. Just as Tamir pulled out the briefcase, Lucy and her team burst in. Mickey was arrested on the spot. At the station, Lucy grilled him. Why were you at the hotel with Tamir? We were discussing retirement funds. Lucy was furious. She yanked open the briefcase, only to find notebooks about retirement planning. Stunned, she tracked down Tamir. What's in the briefcase? Isn't this what you gave me? That's when Lucy realized she'd been played. It was all part of Mickey's master plan. The caller was Stacy. Morgan and Danny disguised themselves as cops, bugged Tamir, and handed him a fake briefcase. Tamir unknowingly handed over the real one. By the time Lucy pieced it together, they were long gone. She met Mickey once more. You've really evolved. The old tricks don't work on you anymore. So am I free to go? She had no proof. All she could do was watch Mickey walk out. Tamir, on the other hand, lost everything: wealth, reputation, and future. Mickey's crew had secured yet another payday. Next, Danny won £20,000 at a casino and casually walked out. A woman beside him, Carol, recognized him. Aren't you Danny? Busted. Danny bolted. Rivet, the guy he just conned, chased him down. Moments later, Rivet cornered him. You've got guts scamming me. Don't you know who I am? Danny panicked and returned the £20,000, begging for forgiveness. Rivet let him go, but with a warning: you're banned from this casino. Those chips you've got, useless now. Sell them to me. I've got over £100,000 worth. I'll give you £30,000. Dream on. Fine, £50,000, final offer. They agreed, but when Rivet went to cash them out, the chips were fake. Shocked, he realized he'd been set up. Everyone at the poker table, except Carol, was part of the con. The plan was to provoke Rivet into chasing Danny. While Morgan intervened, they switched bags, replacing real chips with fakes. Mickey, posing as a cab driver, drove Rivet straight into the trap. Another flawless hustle. This is the kind of crew that makes the rich break out in cold sweat. After the con, the crew split £10,000 in cash, but suddenly, Carol collapsed. They rushed her to the hospital and learned she had been taking weight loss pills. If she kept it up, it could be fatal. Doctors ordered her to stay for observation. Her condition deeply upset the team. Mickey did some digging and discovered the pills were sold by a couple, Dana and Dean, who exploited legal loopholes and made money using shady tactics. Mickey decided it was time to teach them a lesson. He learned they had a fascination with rare treasures, especially golden eggs, so he set a trap. Mickey waited on a street where the couple regularly walked, pretending to be on a call. He said loudly, "As long as the price is right, I can get anything you want." Then he walked off. Dana ran after him, asking for a business card. The card simply read, "Anything, anytime, just call." What does that mean? Exactly what it says. Dana was intrigued. Even rare artifacts. She told Dean. Mickey knew the bait was taken. The next day, Dana and Dean offered Mickey £1 million to steal a golden egg. He accepted. Stacy and Danny posed as tourists inside the museum, snapping photos of the security system. Stacy placed a bottle filled with smoke in her bag and shouted, "There's something dangerous here, everyone get back." As security swarmed, Danny slipped into the control room and copied the entire security system. That night, the job began. Danny crawled through air vents. Stacy used a jammer to freeze security footage. They stole the egg with ease. Watching everything from a distance, Dana and Dean were thrilled. One golden egg, £1 million, 2 eggs, they'd be filthy rich. But just as Danny was leaving, he accidentally dropped a shopping receipt. That's when the con truly began. The next day, the police arrived. An inspector found the receipt and traced it to Danny. Meanwhile, Mickey met with Dana and Dean to sell the golden egg. After the deal, they walked him to his car. Morgan, posing as his driver, looked noticeably slimmer. Been on a weight loss product, he said. My wife's a lab assistant, it's still in clinical trials. Dana and Dean perked up. An experimental formula. If they could get their hands on it before it went public, they saw dollar signs. But this was exactly what Mickey wanted. Morgan was never actually losing weight, he'd been stuffing his clothes for weeks to look heavier. It was all staged. Dana and Dean took the bait again. They offered Mickey another £1 million to steal the formula. Right then, news hit. Danny had been arrested for theft. Thanks to that receipt, the team looked shocked. Mickey told them, "Cops are onto us, we can't go through with this job." But Dana refused to back down. "They're after you, not us, just tell us how to steal the formula." Mickey reluctantly agreed. Later, Dana and Dean arrived at the lab. "We're from the Clinical Research Board, here for a surprise audit. Please clear the lab. Here's the number to confirm." Of course, the number connected directly to Mickey. Morgan, pretending to be from HQ, verified their credentials. Once the staff exited, Stacy, disguised as a janitor, snuck in and uploaded fake formula data to the lab's computer. Dana and Dean rushed in, found the formula, and bolted, thrilled with their heist. Another flawless con complete. Back at their meeting, Mickey demanded the £1 million payment, but Dana and Dean played dumb. Payment? For what? We stole the formula ourselves. Mickey had expected them to turn on him. Smiling, he calmly said, Why don't you check your lapel pin? There's a hidden camera inside. I've got footage of your little break-in." Faced with that, they had no choice but to pay up. Later, the couple brought the formula to a specialist to prepare for mass production. The expert took one look and shook his head. "This stuff's worthless." Unable to accept that, Dana downed the whole thing in frustration. It tasted sour, and soon, her stomach was in knots. Turns out, it was just a powerful laxative Mickey had cooked up for them, part of the con from the very beginning. Dana groaned. "At least we still have the golden egg. Getting duped a little is no big deal." Meanwhile, Stacy, posing as a museum visitor, casually said, "This golden egg, is it in the wrong place?" News broke instantly. The golden egg had been recovered. Danny was released from jail. As it turns out, the crew never stole the real egg. They had swapped it from the beginning. Even the receipt Danny dropped was planted bait to get him arrested so Dana and Dean would carry out the theft themselves. The egg Mickey gave them, a fake. When the couple saw the breaking news on TV, they were furious. Meanwhile, Mickey's crew walked away with £2 million, time to kick back and enjoy the spoils. Later, Stacy got a call from the hospital. Her best friend Emily had collapsed, now in a coma, possibly permanent. Emily ran a charity organization, but a trashy tabloid had smeared her name, accusing her of embezzling funds. The public turned on her viciously. Crushed by the weight of the scandal, Emily had broken down. Seeing Stacy devastated, Mickey stepped up. "We're not letting those people get away with this." The crew began investigating. The paper's editor-in-chief was Francis. The article slandering Emily was written by his pitbull reporter, Millen. Both men were addicted to scandal, especially royal gossip. Mickey decided it was time to turn the tables. First, Morgan forged documents suggesting Queen Elizabeth's mother had a secret love child. He even replicated the royal seal. Then it was Danny's turn. He posed as an admiring journalist and sat beside Millen at a bar. "You're a legend, man. I've read everything you've ever written. Huge fan." Millen ate up the flattery. Suddenly, Stacy walked in and said, "There's breaking news about the Queen Mother." They rushed out, leaving behind a folder by accident. Millen, nosy as ever, opened it and found the fake scoop. He ran after Danny. "I need this story. Name your price." Exactly what the crew wanted. Mickey introduced Albert as the Queen Mother's secret son. Francis reviewed the evidence and said, "If this is legit, I'll pay £200,000 for exclusive rights." He sent Millen to verify everything. They visited the old estate where the Queen Mother and Albert supposedly lived, all fake. They also viewed old footage, forged by Morgan, of course. Still, Francis wasn't fully convinced. He yanked a hair from Albert's head when no one was watching. "We'll DNA test this. If it matches the Queen Mother, you get your money." Panic. Danny pointed out. "But the Queen Mother's been dead for years. Where would you get her DNA?" Francis replied, "The Buckingham Palace still holds her dressing table. I've got connections. I'll get a hair sample." A real problem. Mickey had an idea. If they could plant Albert's hair onto the Queen Mother's old brush, then the DNA would match. So Mickey and Albert posed as tourists and infiltrated Buckingham Palace. Meanwhile, Millen bribed a palace staffer. Danny, in disguise as a repairman, slipped inside. Time was tight. The dressing table area only had a 3-second window not covered by CCTV, far too short. Mickey signaled Stacy to wait. Then, with one tap on his phone, he cut the security feed. Lights blinked, cameras went dark. Mickey distracted a guard while giving Stacy the signal. She darted in, picked the lock using a cotton swab, and carefully placed Albert's hair on the Queen Mother's comb. 1 minute later, the cameras came back online. Morgan looked shocked. When did Mickey start working with Buckingham Palace? Turns out the day Mickey leaked royal gossip, a group of agents grabbed him and dragged him to an abandoned warehouse. They warned him, "If you keep spreading lies about the royal family, you'll disappear permanently." Mickey quickly explained, "It's not about the royals. I'm targeting Francis, the secret child. Story, I made it up." Upon hearing that, the agents had a change of heart. Francis had long been a thorn in the monarchy's side, digging up scandals and smearing reputations. Now someone was aiming to take him down. They were all in. So they quietly helped Mickey by shutting off the cameras to let his plan unfold. After Mickey left, Millen arrived at the palace. "We're here to fix the lock on the Queen Mother's vanity. Won't take long." He discreetly pulled a hair from Albert's comb. Back at the lab, the DNA test came back, a perfect match. Francis was thrilled. He prepared to hand over the £200,000 check but then suddenly ripped it in half. "You seriously thought this story was worth 200 grand? Danny snapped. "We had a deal. Break it, and you're not getting exclusive rights." Francis smirked. "Doesn't matter, I've got the DNA proof. The article goes live today." Mickey boiled over. "You played me. Do you even know who I am?" But once again, Mickey had planned everything. He knew Francis would backstab them. So he reached out to the editor of a rival newspaper, one who hated Francis. When the editor learned Mickey had hard proof to discredit him, he paid £100,000 for the scoop. So, just as Francis ran his exclusive front-page story, the rival paper published a bombshell exposé exposing it as a complete hoax. Reporters swarmed his house. Francis was humiliated, discredited, and swiftly fired. Justice served. Mickey's crew had avenged Emily and earned £100,000 in the process, more than enough to live large, at least for a little while. A man withdrew a bill from an ATM, then smeared glue across the cash slot just before it closed. When someone else came to withdraw money, the machine seemed broken, so they pulled their card and left. After watching a few people walk away, the man returned, slammed the machine, and out dropped a stack of bills. This was the infamous British con crew in action. Lately, they'd been targeting 3 ultra-rich marks. But as they were drawing lots to decide which one to take down first, Eddie's girlfriend stormed out crying. Turns out, she'd been scammed by a modeling agency, lost $10,000. Eddie tried to console her, but it didn't help. The crew was furious. They dared to scam a scammer's girl. We can't let this slide. Time for payback. After digging around, they found the agency's owner, Dexter. She had once tried and failed to break into Milan Fashion Week. Now, she makes money tricking fresh-faced models out of their savings. Mickey came up with a plan to use Fashion Week itself as bait. Morgan mocked up a fake fashion magazine cover. Stacy posed as an employee and sneaked the magazine onto Dexter's desk. Soon after, Sean called the agency, pretending to be a Milan Fashion Week rep. He told them Mr. Mickey was interested in working with them. Dexter's assistant was puzzled, never heard of him, but then she saw the magazine cover on the desk. Dexter was stunned. How could someone this famous fly under my radar? She arranged a meeting right away. Mickey showed up in a pastel pink suit. One look, and Dexter knew, this guy is fashion royalty. They sat down. Mickey got straight to the point. I have a special design. I want a fresh face, not some recycled supermodel. Dexter saw this as her golden chance. She brought out photos of her current models. Mickey flipped through but didn't see Vivian, Eddie's girlfriend. This is it. I thought your agency had something new. Getting desperate, Dexter pulled out photos of past victims. Oh my God, she's perfect. Mickey picked Vivian right away. Dexter wasn't convinced about his taste, but for that kind of money, who cares? Sean whispered that Mickey had a meeting soon. Mickey stood up. We'll continue after I wrap my meeting, but Vivian needs to be the model. Dexter agreed. She called Vivian instantly. Vivian rushed over. Dexter started the pitch. This is your once-in-a-lifetime shot, Milan Fashion Week, and you get to be center stage. Vivian didn't hesitate. She said yes. Next, Mickey called Dexter with the meeting location. They needed a venue to stage their show, so they approached a fashion company, offered free promotion, and asked to borrow the space. Of course, the company agreed. Dexter arrived right on time. Impressed by Mickey's professionalism, she felt reassured. Mickey introduced Morgan as the investor and asked about model fees. Dexter said, Vivian is one of our top models. We've invested heavily in her. Mickey responded, $10,000 for the week. Dexter froze. Mickey doubled it. Make that $20,000. Dexter blinked. You really know how to throw money around. Mickey smirked. We throw real money. Then Morgan leaned in. Why just be an agent? Why not partner with me to invest in Fashion Week? The moment Dexter heard invest, she backed off. Actually, I've got another meeting. Let's talk about that later. Mickey watched her go. We baited the hook perfectly, and she still didn't bite. At that moment, Mickey suddenly remembered that Dexter was extremely superstitious. He knew exactly how to play her. During Sean's next meeting with her, he casually brought up a famous psychic that all the top names in fashion swore by. That was all it took. Dexter, eager for guidance, went straight to Stacy, now posing as the psychic. Stacy held her hand, stared at her palm, and said, You're about to be presented with a golden opportunity. If you seize it, success is guaranteed. But if you let it pass, you'll regret it forever. Sure enough, Mickey showed up right after, claiming Milan Fashion Week might be cancelled. Their main investor had just pulled out. They were now short exactly $200,000. Dexter froze. Could this be the opportunity the psychic meant? She didn't hesitate. She agreed to invest. She went home, gathered all the cash she'd scammed, and brought the full amount, $200,000, to Mickey's office. It was everything she had. She only had enough left for a cab ride. Mickey walked her out, smiling. Just wait for the big news. Then he changed outfits and returned to the office as a different persona. Soon after, Sean brought in a man who handed over $200,000. Then another one, and another. These were the original targets they had drawn lots for. Even while helping Vivian get revenge, the crew stayed on mission. In just a few days, the con team had pulled off a $1 million hustle. A few days later, Dexter finally realized she'd been conned. Furious and on the brink of bankruptcy, she was left stunned. Meanwhile, the crew had more than enough to coast for a while. That day, Morgan was stuck in traffic. He spotted a familiar man passing by and chased after him. He finally caught up. It was Howard, a seasoned con artist and the man who once saved Mickey's life. Back in the day, Mickey made a critical mistake. He failed to leave himself an escape route. Howard realized the man Mickey was dealing with was an undercover cop. He secretly swapped the suitcase full of evidence, saving Mickey from prison. When Mickey later formed his crew, he chose Morgan over Howard. Howard had never recovered from that. He'd hit rock bottom, even racking up debts with a ruthless Iranian loan shark. Howard blamed Mickey for everything. Mickey, feeling guilty, decided it was time to pay him back. After digging around, they found the shark, Johnny, a beast of a man from Iran, based in the suburbs, obsessed with bodybuilding, hot-headed, and quick with his fists. Time to teach him a lesson. Sean went to Johnny's gym. While Johnny was changing, Sean swapped out the lock on his locker. When Johnny left, Sean opened the locker and stole a key to Johnny's secret base. He broke in, copied everything off the computer, and returned to the gym. He replaced the lock without a trace. Back at HQ, they reviewed the files. Turns out, loan sharking was Johnny's side hustle, his main gig, cigarette smuggling, but his supplier had just been arrested, leaving him desperate for inventory. Mickey knew exactly how to exploit that. Step 1. Stacy, posing as a fire marshal, claimed the neighboring warehouse lacked fire safety clearance. She confiscated the keys. Now, Mickey's crew moved in, pretending to unload crates of cigarettes. Johnny noticed, and wasn't happy. "You selling here? This is my turf. Pack up, or I'll break your legs." Mickey replied, "We're just the hired help, let me call the boss." Enter Albert, pretending to be the boss. "Territory wars are so last decade. We're all about profits now. I've got product, you've got distribution. I'm from New York. This place is new to me. Let's each invest $1 million and do a big job together." Hearing there was product available, Johnny agreed. They arranged for a truckload of smokes. But here's the catch, only 5 boxes were real, the rest, fakes. Now comes the real problem. Johnny doesn't trust anyone. He's going to inspect the cargo, so how do they make sure he checks the 5 real boxes? Morgan said, "Don't worry, I'll use psychological suggestion to make him pick the right crates." The crew looked confused, so Morgan rolled out a wooden block and asked Sean to pick one. Underneath it, Sean found the words, "You will pick the triangle." Morgan explained, "If someone keeps seeing a certain shape over and over again, it gets planted in their mind. That's how I'll make Johnny choose the 5 real crates without him even realizing it." Sean painted symbols along Johnny's route to the warehouse, then placed matching ones on 5 crates containing real cigarettes. Days later, at the deal site, a crate was brought in. Both Albert and Johnny came with suitcases full of cash. After careful inspection, Johnny picked the crate with the symbol. It checked out. They handed the cash over to Morgan. Suddenly, 2 masked gunmen appeared. They stole both suitcases and vanished. Everyone was stunned. Johnny barked, "You're messing with me, aren't you?" Mickey shot back, "Isn't that what you were doing to us?" Johnny didn't say a word. He got in his car and chased the thieves down a nearby alley. There, he opened a trash bin and pulled out both suitcases. He had flipped the con back on Mickey's crew. Back at the hotel, he reunited with his accomplices. The door opened. It was Howard. Turns out Johnny and Howard had teamed up to get revenge on Mickey. Howard never forgave him for choosing Morgan over him all those years ago. Bunch of amateurs. This whole thing had been years in the making, Howard's way of proving he was still the true conmaster. But when he opened the suitcase, it was filled with newspaper, so was the second one. Johnny stood frozen. "I saw the cash with my own eyes." He called the 2 goons he'd hired, but they told him, "We showed up at 5:10, just like you said, but no one was there." Johnny checked his watch, confused. Howard had no clue what went wrong. Here's what happened. Eddie had once bragged to Mickey about learning a magic trick from Howard. Morgan had his suspicions then. If Howard's hands were that shaky, how could he pull off anything that slick? Morgan eavesdropped on Howard's calls and confirmed it. Howard was plotting to scam them, so they flipped the script. Stacy accidentally bumped into Johnny. She lifted his watch and car keys. They adjusted both clocks, setting them 10 minutes fast. Sean then returned the items without Johnny noticing. As a result, Johnny showed up early, exactly when Mickey's fake deal was happening. The masked gunmen, just Sean and Stacy in disguise, they grabbed the cash, tossed it into a dumpster. By the time Johnny's real goons arrived, the alley was empty. The whole thing, a perfectly timed con. They scammed $1 million using empty crates. And it was enough to keep them living large again. Even though they were always teaching the rich a lesson, Albert still had a weight on his chest. At a historic casino with a century-old legacy, there was something called the Wall of Shame. Anyone caught cheating got their photo hung up there. One of them was Albert's great-grandfather, but Albert always believed the man was innocent. So Mickey joined Albert to confront Marcus, the casino's owner. But the moment Marcus heard Albert's name, he exploded in insults. Mickey couldn't take it. "Listen, just take the picture down, and we'll leave." Marcus smirked. "Simple, 1 game, $1 million bet. If you win, I'll take it down myself. If you lose, your photos go up there too." Mickey, pride stung, agreed to the challenge. Later, they found out Marcus came from a legendary gambling family. He was a card genius. No way they could beat him fair and square. But that's not the plan. They were going to beat him the hustle way. They discovered Marcus was about to auction off an old poker table, the very first his family ever used. It had once sunk in a shipwreck but was recently recovered. And Marcus had insisted on playing the big match on that table. So the crew went to the auction house. While investigating the table, Stacy snapped detailed photos of its design, then she paid a visit to a master forger. The master forger said, "Give me 2 days, and I'll show you a fake that's better than the real thing." The plan was in motion. Morgan rented a hall and turned it into a luxury auction room. Soon, Stacy approached Marcus. He saw right through her and challenged her. "Let's see what you've got." Then he offered to drive her home, unaware he just played into her hand. Her goal was to see which GPS app he used. Back home, Stacy recorded the GPS voice directions, mimicking it exactly. 2 days later, the fake table arrived, rigged to stop at whatever number they wanted. The team went all in, hiring extras, setting the stage. The next morning, as Marcus got into his car, Albert hopped in beside him. While Marcus fastened his seatbelt, Albert stealthily planted a chip inside the GPS and slipped out after tossing in a few sarcastic words. Thanks to the chip, no matter what location Marcus entered, the GPS would reroute him to their fake auction. Guided by Stacy's recording, Marcus arrived, none the wiser. Inside, the hall was packed, the auction began, and after some fierce bidding, Marcus won the table for $30,000. That night, dressed to the nines, Mickey's crew entered the casino. They stood before the table, ready to start the game, but Marcus smirked and motioned to staff. They pulled off the cloth, revealing the real roulette table. The whole plan was blown. A 100-year-old table with wiring. Do you think I'm an idiot? Then the forger walked out. He'd betrayed them. Things just went from bad to worse. With no trickery left, they had to play it straight. Albert kept losing until he had just one chip left. He offered Marcus a way out. "Take the million, I'm done. I won't let you hang my team's pictures on your wall." But Marcus, drunk on victory, refused to stop. Albert had no choice. He bet his last chip. And somehow, the ball landed exactly where he needed. Marcus called it luck. But Albert kept winning. He racked up hundreds of thousands, and Marcus started sweating. "Are you cheating?" Marcus snapped. Albert calmly replied, "Your casino, your table. If you can't prove it, how am I cheating?" Marcus took over spinning the wheel himself, but Albert still won. His winnings hit $1 million. Albert then turned to Stacy. "Call it," she said. "Number 5, red." Albert bet everything on it, 35-1 odds. If it landed, Marcus would owe $70 million. Enough to bankrupt him. Marcus was panicking, but spun the wheel anyway. As the ball dropped, he knew he'd lost. Marcus offered to pay the million and take the photo down. But he still didn't understand how he'd lost. Albert smiled and pulled out a 6-pointed star. It turned out, 100 years ago, Marcus's great-grandfather had built this secret device into the table. With the right move, you could steer the ball to any number you wanted. Albert's great-grandfather had discovered it, used it to win, but was framed as a cheater and thrown out. Before leaving, he took the 6-pointed key with him. The real cheater all along was Marcus's family. And now the truth was out. Marcus protested. "This isn't our table, we don't cheat." Albert dusted off the table, revealing his family name carved inside. Marcus gasped. "If you knew all this, why fake the auction?" Albert answered, "Because if we didn't, you'd be suspicious." The entire con was to make Marcus believe he'd uncovered a scam, while the real trick was happening right under his nose. The forger, he was part of the plan too, instructed to play along if Marcus came to him. The goal was to give you hope and then crush it. Marcus lost face, lost money, and lost his legacy. His casino's reputation took a massive hit. Albert finally took down his great-grandfather's photo. The 100-year grudge, gone. And Mickey's crew, another perfect con, another $1 million, another successful hustle. Let's see how this crew of master con artists tricked another rich target. Their next mark was Benny, an infamous bootlegger. Police had been tracking him for years but couldn't find a single shred of evidence. He was extremely cautious. But Benny had one weakness, his hot-headed rapper son, Joey, who was prone to tantrums and destruction. So Mickey's team decided to exploit this soft spot and teach the family a lesson. Step 1, Albert met Benny at a bar and struck up a conversation. When Benny mentioned that his son dreamed of becoming a singer, Albert told him he had a friend in the music industry and could arrange a meeting. Soon after, Danny posed as a music label owner. Morgan created a fake music magazine cover featuring Danny, then disguised himself as a delivery man to swap out Benny's real magazines. That night, Albert brought Benny to meet Danny. Joey gave a terrible rap performance, but Danny praised him as a unique talent and asked if he'd like to sign with his label. Joey rudely mocked him and told him to get lost. Before leaving, Danny noticed Joey reading a Mobo Awards magazine. He casually said, "Too bad, I was going to take him to the Mobo Awards to give him a taste of the big leagues." Joey overheard and immediately ran over to apologize and beg for another chance. Now that the bait was taken, the next step was to get them into the actual Mobo Awards venue. Morgan disguised himself as a member of a celeb's entourage. He scouted the venue and handed security a fake staff list for artist Calgary. Before the guard could verify, Morgan disappeared. Later, Danny arrived with Benny and Joey. Security checked the list, saw their names, and let them in. Meanwhile, Mickey and Stacy, disguised as Calgary and his assistant, snuck into the hall. Benny, seeing all the celebs, was totally convinced. Mickey approached and greeted Danny, then said to Joey, "I've heard your stuff, not bad." Benny beamed with pride. He asked how much it would cost for Joey to debut. Danny played it cool. "You won't need to spend a dime, we'll help him blow up, just get him to our studio, once he goes viral, investors will come knocking, we all win." Benny now believed Danny was the real deal. But they needed a proper studio for the act. So Stacy posed as a noise inspector and visited a major recording studio. Flashing fake documents, she claimed they were in violation and had to shut down for 24 hours. Panicked, the staff left. Mickey's team moved in and set everything up. Benny's family arrived on time. After some small talk, Joey recorded his song. Mickey and Danny raved about his talent, calling him a genius. "Now just sit back and wait." Benny was deeply grateful. "This means the world to my son, I'll never forget what you've done." He had no idea the con was far from over. To make the illusion complete, the team plastered Joey's posters along Benny's daily route. Benny began to believe Joey was truly destined for greatness. Next step, get Joey's song on TV. Morgan said, "Leave it to me." He visited a friend at the TV station. While his friend was in the bathroom, Morgan swapped the music disc with Joey's track. Later that night, Joey's song aired on TV. His entire family cheered with joy. With the stage fully set, it was time to move. The crew visited Benny and praised Joey's success, then dropped the bombshell. "Unfortunately, our investor went bankrupt. We won't be able to continue the project." Benny panicked. Danny said they already raised $200,000 but still needed $2 million. Not wanting to disappoint Joey, Benny told them, "Go home first, I'll figure out the money." At that moment, Benny's father-in-law spotted Albert and urgently told his daughter to warn Benny. "That guy's a con artist, don't trust him." Turns out the old man had been scammed by Mickey's crew in the past. Once Benny learned the truth, he immediately cooked up a counterattack. He hosted a party, had bodyguards lying in wait, and called Danny. His wife said, "Benny's gathered the $2 million, he wants everyone to come over and celebrate with drinks." That evening, Mickey's team arrived at Benny's house. As soon as they entered, Benny punched Danny in the face. Suddenly, bodyguards swarmed in and restrained the entire crew. After roughing them up, Benny snarled, "Didn't even bother checking first, huh? You really think you could scam me and get away with it?" He was about to throw them into the sea, but then the police showed up. The officer said, "I've been watching you for a long time, looks like your dirty secrets are finally coming out." Benny tried to defend himself. "They're conmen, I was just teaching them a lesson." But the officer replied coldly, "I'm not here for assault, you've been printing counterfeit money, we've got solid proof." He pulled out a scanner, and sure enough, fake money was found on the premises. Benny realized he was done for. Not long after, Benny and his family were escorted into a police car. But the story wasn't over yet. On the way to the station, the officer complained, "Police pay is terrible, can't even cover monthly expenses." Hearing that, Benny leaned in, pulled out a $100,000 diamond necklace, and whispered, "Just fake a breakdown or something, let us slip away, this is yours." The officer turned around, it was Morgan. Turns out, Mickey had sensed something was off since the initial call. He figured it might be a trap and set up a backup plan. The cops were actors, the police car was just Morgan's van disguised as a cruiser, and the counterfeit money, planted by the crew beforehand. Since Benny was guilty to begin with, he didn't suspect a thing. So despite getting roughed up, Mickey's team walked away with $2 million and a $100,000 necklace, definitely enough to lay low for a while. Their next target, Wassam, a filthy rich billionaire with a violent temper. He was known to kill people when enraged. The team hesitated, one slip-up could be fatal, but Mickey insisted. "High risk, high reward, after this job, I'll disappear for a while." Trusting Mickey's instincts, they agreed. Their research revealed Wassam loved making money from shady deals, so Mickey and Albert went to his favorite restaurant and purposely made a loud phone call within earshot. "Don't worry, I'll cover any losses, I guarantee it." Wassam overheard and assumed Mickey was loaded, willing to guarantee investments. Albert played along, warning, "We're growing too fast, be careful." Mickey smirked, "This is just the beginning, I'm building my own empire." Wassam grew curious. He had his assistant invite them to a meeting. But Mickey acted annoyed and declined. "I'm too busy, if he wants to talk, he can come to me." The assistant left with Mickey's business card. Wassam scoffed, "This guy's cocky, wants me to meet him, keep dreaming." With no call back, Mickey pushed further. He sent Morgan to Wassam's hotel to plant a fake magazine featuring Mickey as a top investor and bribed staff to place it in his suite. It worked like a charm. Wassam saw the article and called Mickey himself. The fish was hooked. Next step, set up a fake luxury office to look legit. Stacy took the lead. She bumped into a pedestrian and swiped their staff badge, used it to enter a building, then stole a guard's keys. Soon the whole crew was inside, staging the perfect office. Now all they had to do was wait for Wassam. Soon enough, Wassam showed up with his assistant. Mickey was stunned. The assistant was Emma, his long-lost teammate. After the initial shock, he greeted her. Wasim said, "This is Emma, my manager, I trust her completely." They sat down to talk business. Emma explained that Wasim wanted to invest. Mickey replied coolly, "You'll have to get in line, I'll let you know if there's a spot." Wasim exploded, "Do you even know who I am?" Mickey shrugged, "Even if you're the president, you still play by my rules." Wasim fumed, "He wants me to wait in line, no deal, crush him." If Wasim was going to push it that far, then Mickey decided to go all in too. He sent Morgan to talk to Wasim, but things turned south fast. Wasim got suspicious. Why is Mickey so good at investing? He must have some trick up his sleeve. Morgan stayed silent, so Wasim's men beat him up. Pretending to give in, Morgan revealed Mickey's secret. The next day, Wasim confronted Mickey. "You stole trading data. If I report this, you'll rot in jail. Show me how you did it or I'll turn you in. If it works, I'll cut you in. If not, you're done." Mickey refused. "I'd rather die than do something like that." Wasim slapped him hard and snarled, "Then you better choose, show me or go to prison." Mickey, acting defeated, agreed. He took Wasim to a remote site filled with power cables and servers. This system gets a 0.9-second head start on the market. Not much, but enough to buy in early and sell for profit. That's how I make money. Wasim believed it immediately. He said he'd invest $100 million, but Mickey had 24 hours to double it or he'd kill him and his entire crew. Later, Wasim told Emma to learn the system. Then, he had his assistant hire a hitman. His plan, take the system, then eliminate Mickey's crew. Emma secretly warned Mickey, "Get out while you can, it's not worth it." But Mickey stood his ground. He hired actors to pose as police officers. The plan, once the money hit the account, the fake cops would burst in, forcing Wasim to flee the country. Only that would get rid of him. The next day, Wasim sent over $100 million. Albert pretended to run the system. The numbers on screen skyrocketed. Wasim was ecstatic. Right then, the cops raided the office, arrested Mickey for illegally accessing trading data. Everyone was caught red-handed. Emma cried out, "We're not involved. Wasim and I were tricked. The money's still in the bag. Please, let us go. We'll flee the country. Just take the cash." Of course, the police didn't say no. Just like that, Mickey's crew scored $100 million. Back at the safe house, the crew was celebrating, until they realized Wasim had them surrounded. They raced to the rooftop, but there was no way out. Wasim caught up. Mickey had no choice but to face him. As Mickey stalled, Wasim pulled the trigger.
"Gentlemen, I know what you're thinking, but,
Mickey and his team collapsed, blood splattering, cash flying into the wind. Bystanders rushed in, scrambling to grab the flying money. He and his men ran down to retrieve it, but just as they disappeared, Mickey moved. The assassin, it was Danny all along. The crew stood up, not a scratch. Turns out, when Wasim handed over the hitman's contact to his assistant, Emma had swapped the number, placing it back in his pocket, so when they called, Danny picked up. The shootout, all special effects. Morgan had used fake blood packs. Danny fired blanks directly at the packs, making it look real. Wasim had no clue he'd been played. From the rooftop, Mickey watched as Wasim and the crowd fought over the flying cash. Now with $100 million, the crew finally had their exit. This is it, I'm out. Hope you learned something from all this. And that's the full story of Hustle Season 5 and 6. What did you think of the series? Rate it on a scale from 1 to 10 and let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.
All away with his sheriff's men.
yeah, 32.
When the Winter Brothers